Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
One question for you, Mr. Peña, because you know so much. Who is really behind Bitcoin?
I told you, there's two countries that would benefit. Who are the two countries that would benefit for the U.S. economy collapsing? China and Russia. China shut down Bitcoin 4 or 5 years ago because it collapsed their economy. Russia, in my opinion, I know for a fact, Russia is behind Bitcoin, not some fat fucking Jap PhD in a cave. That's such a hand job. Okay, or a Korean or whatever, whoever he was. It's not. And that's who is behind. And I got it from you. You said that Brian said, I won, you lost, vis-a-vis. Okay. Well, I hope he considers that a win for him. But it's certainly not, it's not enough. But it's early days. I remember when Bitcoin was $8,000 11 months ago. And I'm here to tell you it's going to go to 8,000 or not, because it is not going to be the primary currency of the Federal Reserve. It's not going to be the currency of the World Bank. That's all a hand job. And if you think that, it's because you don't understand the acceleration of money. You do not understand supply and demand. That's all bullshit. And only kids that are trying to get on the property ladder, for example, and I understand why they've latched on to Bitcoin, because it's volatile, one, and two, if depending on where you bought it, you can show profit. Now, there's 2 or 3 people in here that are here because of Bitcoin, okay? I have 3 Bitcoin billionaires, 2 Romanian Mongoloid idiot Down syndrome brothers that started buying it when it was 20 cents, 16 years ago, okay? And then I got another one against my advice that has made a lot of money. When Bitcoin got to 64,000 or whatever it got the last time, I said, sell half, keep half. Hardly anybody listened to me. When it gets up to, I'm better at calling top of markets than bottom of markets. When it gets up to where I think it's, as a top for intermediate top, I'm going to tell everybody, sell half, keep half. Nobody's going to listen.
You said the same when it was 20,000.
Yeah, well, in December 2017, wherever it got up to, I said, sell half, keep half. But most people are investing in those alternative investment opportunities for the wrong reason. And it's too long for me to explain why it's the wrong reason, but it's the wrong reason. But they're desperate. Bitcoin is, even though Jimmy Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, says it's rat shit, but my customers want rat shit, so I'll give them rat shit. Okay? But I agree with Munger and who's God rest his soul, and Warren, it's rat poisoning squared. But tulip bulbs, where's tulip bulbs? It's no different than tulip bulbs from 1535 to 1537. It's exactly the same. And it will run its course. I don't know when it is, and I don't really give a shit. And I don't recommend that you put part of it in your portfolio for diversification. But I don't believe in gold, silver, or anything other than cash. Hard motherfucking cash. No, I don't believe in that. And what are you going to do with a gold bar? When an Armageddon comes and they're coming to rip your wife's throat out, what are you going to do with a gold bar? Nothing, other than a weapon. Yeah. And so the cold hard cash, and I don't need justification or validation that 75% of the big companies, Berkshire Hathaway, et cetera, are sitting on hundreds of billions in cash for a reason. When that tsunami comes and you think you're that white horse outrunning, you're not. We're in 5 banks, 4 currencies, and Sally flips them around with a little bit of advice from me. There's 3 or 4 currencies that those go, and they may go. I may be 180 degrees wrong, but when they go, then it's who has the biggest guns, or who are the toughest, and all of you are dead in this room. Even if you have guns, you're not going to pull the trigger. You know, the guy with the bum leg, you know. Now he's a Spartan warrior. Okay, you know. Yeah. I mean, unless you're going to pull the trigger, there's no need to get guns. You know, unless you're going to use the knife on your calf, you know, no need having one. And most people will be not be able to do that. Not be able to. I think that all the barrios, ghettos of the world are going to live through when the Armageddon because they know how to cut somebody's throat. Yeah, they'll be able to do something. And all the rest of the world, most of which comes, not most, a lot of which comes to the seminar, you'll think of a reason why, you know, why you should help them, why you shouldn't put I love the Walking Dead things, when they put a thing in their head. I could do that just like I took a shit. I mean, it wouldn't even bother me.
It would be that.
But you think about it. In the meantime, he jumps on your neck and bites your neck. You think about it. You spreadsheet it. You know, even Serbia with his bum leg would spreadsheet it. I don't even know how to do a fucking spreadsheet. You know, I mean, guys, you know, the tough guys, and I don't consider Elon a tough guy. Emotionally, he's tough. You know, and these guys are, you know, done some ugly things. You saw Carnegie, and nobody commented on it, but he did some shitty things in life. His mentor, he stepped on him, you know. Huh?
I came away thinking he was some like an enlightened industrial.
He was.
Even with his mentor, I didn't see that as he stepped on him. He had a whole.
So the industry was in the middle of changing. He had all of his capital tied up.
That's what he said.
Ah.
But if you go back in history, none of his capital was tied up.
I see.
He just used it as an excuse to not help him. Yeah, well, and so
He just said no.
Cowered in the back corner.
Pardon?
He cowered in the back corner when the labor dispute was going on.
Yeah.
He wanted to be out of reach.
Correct. And he came to the UK.
Plausible deniability.
Yes. I think that was invented in Delaware. Yeah. But yeah. But I mean, you should. I mean, he looks the part, and even though I'm teasing him, he looks the part. And when I went to Wall Street and I tried to dress preppy, and even though I was with a Jewish firm, Bear Stearns, I mean, J.P. Morgan and those guys, they all looked the part. You know, first time you have an ability is when they see you, right? And the second time is when you open your fucking mouth. And in my era, in the 70s and 80s, these guys, you know, were pretty fucking articulate, and Perfect was in. Then they went through a phase where no coats, no ties, blah, blah, and now they're back to, you know, dressing like you're supposed to do. If you're going to take somebody's money, not take it, I mean steal it, but if you're going to invest in somebody's money, you should look the part. And when you wear the uniform or a reasonable facsimile of the uniform, you're already in. You're already in. And you will see when you go to meetings and the first 5 or 10 minutes, these other guys and gals will be dressed to go to tennis, and especially when you have meetings on the weekend. Some even bring their kids and grandkids and they put them in the car and they wait for them. You've got them by the short hairs then. Some of you over the years, and when the guys from EY, PwC, the meeting's got to be short because my grandson's in the car and I'm taking him to tennis. First of all, that's insulting to me. I wouldn't even have the fucking meeting. You should have the meeting because you need the practice. But then you got them. You just fucking have them. I used to. That only happened to me once. I went out to the parking lot. Where's your car? And I went out, I brought the kid in. We're at a country club. I brought the kid in. Are you having a good time? No. And I said, well, come on in. That's even better than you're having a good time. That's insulting. That's insulting.
But guys, what to do JP Morgan?
Okay.
He find the sellers, yes?
No, JP Morgan is one of the premier banks. Jamie Dimon, who I don't know personally, is, pardon? Oh, you mean the original JP Morgan. He was the guy, and he had a nose about this big. And, and whatever that disease is when anyway. And when he paid the $450 or whatever it was, he slid the piece of paper over to Carnegie, and he would have paid more. Yeah, but I mean, Carnegie wanted out. He wanted out, and he got out.
Yes, but about the QLA, yes? JP Morgan finds the motivated seller.
Well, the motivated seller in that particular instance was Carnegie.
Yeah. I'm talking about that.
Yeah, and he got cash, and then legend has it that J.P. Morgan told him, I would have paid more. Now, I wouldn't have said that if it was J.P. Morgan, but anyway, I would have paid more, and how much more we don't know. But at that time, $450 million cash, and J.P. Morgan was the lead shaker and mover of getting shit done. What? Yeah. Well, I mean, he bailed out the U.S. government, amongst other people. But the Rothschilds bailed out the British government, War 1812, et cetera, et cetera.
That reminds me, how do merchant banks, is it just like any other bank?
No, the merchant banks don't exist anymore. Merchant banks put their money up where their mouth was. Merchant banks. Brown Shipley was one of the last merchant banks on the planet. And Brown Shipley was my first investment bank in Europe when I went there in 81, and I failed. And then I came back in 84 to take Great Western Public. Rothschild has, instead of merchant banking, they have their private equity arm. So private equity has replaced merchant banking. But in the old days, the old partnerships put up their money. They put their money where their fucking mouth was. And now they're putting up private equity money they raised from you. So it's not their money, it's your money that they're getting a fee, a cut from. And these guys, unless you've done business in Europe and Japan and all these other, and Israel for that matter, you don't know that. And most of the guys at J.P. Morgan, the investment desk today, or PwC, the investment desk, not the international tax desk like Sally used to be on, they have no experience. People said that I was committing suicide, financial suicide, because I was doing business with Israeli government and the Kuwaiti government and the Saudi government at the same time. Well, I was able to, they had confidence in me, and so I was able to do that. I was able to balance that. And the Israelis always said that the Kuwaitis and the Saudis were going to fuck me, and the Saudis and the Kuwaitis always said the Israelis were going to fuck me. And neither one fucked me, so. Although I got arrested by the Israelis at the airport when I left, because I called their bluff. Well, the Dutch government, because of Mr. Heineke. My Dutch experience is completely different because Mr. Heineke liked me, the old man. And when he wanted something done, it got done. Didn't make a fuck what the government said, what the law said. And so my experience was super ordinary. And I got to teach at 3 universities with no interviews, no bullshit, no anything, because Mr. Heineke said he wanted me to go to Amsterdam University, Erasmus, and Nairobi. And he wasn't interested about all the rules and regulations, and that they had I had to go through some bullshit. And so I taught at all 3 schools because of Mr. Heineke. And again, I think I told you I never met the daughter, she was a kid when I was there, who's a ball buster, the richest lady I believe in the Netherlands now. But he was, and Heineken beer, that they export to the rest of the world is not a premier beer like we buy it. It's a shit beer. It's not the premier beer that Heineken produces. But the Heineken we drink around the world, it's just a marketing gimmick that worked. But he was very nice to me. But a lot of these guys were nice to me because they said, you remind me of me when I was a kid. Great compliment. But all of them are hard. There's nobody wishy-washy. Or as my Mexican grandmother Ortiz would say, none of them were witchy-watchy. None of them were, they were all fucking hard. And they always expected to win. Always. It wasn't an alternative of losing. They just, and in some cases they did some ugly shit. Fortunately I wasn't associated with the ugly shit. But in the spirit of candor, if I had been with my grandfather who rode a Ponchafi, I would have done the ugly shit too. And I never said no to these guys. Never. And I learned on the job training, And what? Yeah, Costa. He was a super guy, and I told you jokingly, he lost 7 wives at sea. And I wish I had taped the way he used to say it. And he used to be able to roll a tear right off this left cheek. And then his Austrian wife, his 8th wife, would say, "We've had enough dramatics, Costa. Let's go to dinner." But he never chuckled, never laughed. 7 wives. After 4 or 5 wives, why did the 6th, 7th wait? Because he had money. And the only wife that was closer to his age was his 8th wife, the Austrian gal. The other wives were just, more the age of his daughters that he never had. And nobody ever questioned. He used to live at the Carlisle for a while, a hotel in London, in New York, and we'd go in there and my first wife, and we'd go in and they thought that was his new girlfriend. Linda, that girl up there, and Linda didn't like that to be associated. But I never corrected them. We'd go to the bar and have a drink, and Costa liked to drink. And when we go, I take him home. I always took him home. And he'd smell of cigars and wine. And he said, I must have sat too close to Mr. Peña because he wasn't supposed to drink or smoke anymore. But to be on their train, which was like the Orient Express, was like in a movie. It was pretty terrific.
How long was that before or after Mr. Onassis had died?
2 years after he died. 2 years. And so they still talked to Mr. O, but they said that I reminded them of Mr. O when he was young. Now, he used to live at, the address was 1 Champs-Élysées for the French guys. He lived in that building in the attic with the rats. And he used to sit up on the roof with a tin foil thing around his neck to tan his face and his hands. And because he wanted to look tan, because he was either on a yacht, on a tennis court, or on a golf course. And he lived at 1 Champs-Élysées, which is kind of almost directly across from the Eiffel Tower. Fake it till you make it. And when he had nothing. But I've known all these guys.
Mr. Peña.
Yes, sir.
What's behind this statement? Because I think you mentioned before, I don't know if it was Governor Carey that gave you the tremendous compliment that you were the person that had the most integrity.
No, that's Robert Dyke.
Robert Dyke, right? Robert Dyke,
correct.
And so like to rape, pillage, and plunder.
Now, when I say that, I don't mean I got more sex than the Beatles. I never forced anybody to have sex. That wasn't my problem.
But what I'm saying, like, if you were back with Pancho and them.
Well, under the environment, if I was a Spartan, I would have raped, pillaged, and plundered. I just would have. You know? Now, you've seen the movie 300, a lot of you, right? Most of you don't know that all the 300 were gay. They were homosexuals. 100% of them were gay. There was one father-son group, father-son, not couple. Now, I don't know if they were involved in a sexual relationship, but they were all gay. Because they found Spartans over centuries that you fought harder for your gay lover sitting next to you than your wife or your son or whatever. And I probably wouldn't have gone against culture, but I mean, my personality is violent. That's my personality. And, and I'm sure if I had been in that environment, I would have done some ugly shit, and the...
Not coming back in shield.
Yeah, you either come back with your shield or on your shield.
Yeah, exactly.
I can live with that. That doesn't bother me. And I've been around a lot of guys, and I don't suffer from that. And my dad was, I saw my dad have 2 tears in his life. One when his brother died, and one when his sister died. 1 tear on his left cheek, 1 tear on his right cheek. And my dad told me shortly before he died, I love you, son. He was 90. And I said, it's okay, Dad. I know you do. And then he rephrased it in my way. Because, love was not in his quiver of arrows. Yeah. And he was a hard fucker. He just was. And when I spent the time with my kid brother on this cruise and with guys that I've known, and I've already repeated this, everybody was scared to death of him. Everybody. Because they thought that he was going to beat them like he beat me. And the fathers in that era, my son needed a beating. You should have got beat more, kids. Believe me. You wouldn't be, you wouldn't be, this is a slight exaggeration, you wouldn't be the whining bitches you are today. But you can overdo beating. You can. And my dad would have surely gone to jail. Because they would have called it child abuse. But he, I'm happy for the beatings. I teased, I told you, when he used to say, this hurts me more than you, Danny, I thought that was a little hot shit myself. I didn't see how it could be hurting him. But he was, but that's how I was raised. And, that sandal hitting the lions. And how's your program worked out? For the most part. And for some of you, you have really accomplished something, considering how you were raised. Because you really weren't held accountable like I was. You weren't all these things, and you've turned out, some of you fairly good. But you're still here. So even though it's fairly good, obviously you're not happy about it. Otherwise, you don't come here if you're happy. At different degrees of unhappiness, and Sally and I joke about, the Vice President Vance, the guy that's running for, and they consider him a sob story in his book and the movie about him. If that's hardship, 4 or 5 of you in this room had hardship 10 times worse than his. And of course, that's where we are now. The world's fucked up. Okay, one more question, I'm going to go to bed.
I just want to make a comment.
¿En español?
En español, si quieres. I want to raise the toast for Mr. Peña and all the people he has inspired, because he has no business on helping cunts like us learn how to be fucking rich, and he still does it. So, cheers for Mr. Peña, the greatest Mexican American.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And tonight, think about, or tomorrow, think about that one thing that you got to do first so you can get on the track, because there's one thing, everybody's got one thing that is keeping you or has kept you. And get that done first, because it's not going to get easier. It's not going to get easier. And think back about, I don't want to sound racist, but the black guy, we all know who we're talking about, which is pretty fucking remarkable. Pretty fucking remarkable. No education, no this, prison, et cetera, and and now he's trying to help other guys that have similar backgrounds, and he's doing the right thing, and but first do the right thing for you. Do the right thing, the selfish thing for you, and to the extent that you can be inclusive for your family, which is hard, believe me. It's not impossible, but it is hard. Do what, and I'm more concerned not about your outside family, I'm concerned about those of you that have kids. Okay, and it's not easy, especially now with the fucking snot-nosed kids, how they are. It's not impossible, though. You can do it. And I think of Josh Kim. I mean, God love the little shit. And his parents got it right. And there's other people, the Williams sisters, although their dad was tough as nails, beat him up. Tiger Woods' dad was tough, beat him up. And if you're not disciplining your kids, tomorrow's not the time to start. Tomorrow's not the time to start whacking them. Most of the kids are beyond, okay, but you can tighten it up. And you can make them more accountable. And of course, the kids will hate it. And whether it's about cell phones or whatever, allowances or shit like that. I used to get a nickel a week. My allowance started a nickel a week. Of course, we're talking about a long time ago. It went up to 25 cents a week, and I thought that all my birthdays would come at once. I thought, I was Rockefeller now. And then I started getting $1 a week. And I thought my dad was robbing banks. Something's not right here. And so, of course, we've come a long way. But, you can implement some sort of program like that. And and I know, for the most of you want your kids to love you. More importantly, they respect you down the road. And I've been at this long enough, and I'm coaching now, second generation. And just think about the Carlines boy, 16 years old, rolling up sports pubs. Traveling in with his lawyers and shit. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, no, he's not fucked. He is. A good part of his childhood he skipped. Well, you didn't skip your childhood. Look where you are. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.